got a spooky video to start this week's episode of AEW Dynamite because, of course, it's Fright Night and it's Halloween. Okay then. That's right, we've gone and dressed up. Sort of. Also, hello my friends and welcome to Ups and Downs for AEW Dynamite. That's right, I'm wearing my Proteus title again because I'm a massive nerd and I'm a massive Mark. I've saved you the trouble, although now I am kind of like running the risk of getting in trouble. This is why you probably shouldn't make a goofy person a champion. But you know what? I don't care, because sometimes hard work pays off. If I do wear this, it means I can say this again. I appreciate all of you. We did it together. Let's up those downs. Of course, the Jon Moxley BCC video then kicked things off and basically interrupted this video for another video. As they all said 5 years ago, if it wasn't for Jonathan Moxley, AEW would not be in the position that it is. So maybe we should all go kiss his feet. Didn't say that. This was actually really good though, because we then got another interruption because Orange Cassidy walked to the ring and he was wearing dark clothes because his emotions were in the dump. He also cut a promo, which he never does, but this is why long-term storytelling is really important, because he was in a very serious tone saying, I'm not a leader, and what you did to Chucky Taylor last week, my friends, well, it was absolutely despicable, and it made me a sad panda. He also knows that those surrounding him should not be having to go through this, because not only are they young, but they're the future of AEW, and that is super duper important when it comes to pro wrestling. So if this piece of fruit has to go to the front line, well, that's what I'm gonna do, which is a very precarious position to be in. I mean, you could just get him and go, he turns into juice. It also means these young pups do not understand the danger they are in, which is why Orange is now gonna be the guy, and he challenged Jon Moxley to AEW Full Gear. And I was like, damn it, Cassidy, I will march into battle with you. It's also true, because if he doesn't do this, maybe there is no future for the company, when he also reiterated how important All Elite Wrestling is, because if they hadn't have been born, Orange Cassidy probably wouldn't be here right now, which is true. If you do go back to 2019, even though it was a massive error, WWE weren't going to sign it. Therefore, he's going to cut the head off the snake because Moxley may not need AEW, but Orange Cassidy does. And he needs a bowl because he is fruit. So essentially, he is trying to protect the rest of the company. What I really like now about the World Championship is it is essentially the same as the Lord of Rings Ring of Power. Whoever wears it is in the control. Cassidy then told the BCC he's not hard to find and he doesn't have a catchphrase. Always makes me laugh. It's also very ironic, because it's one of my favorite catchphrases in all of wrestling. Now, he won't win the championship here either, even though I would like him to. I mean, back in 2019, I made a video saying Orange Cassidy should be the AEW World Champion, but that's not the point here. We are just putting all the pieces in place, and in terms of opening promo, this was super duper good. Let's get it up. I'm just going to jump in here quickly as well and just say I want to send all best wishes to Chris Bay, who is going through some medical things right now, and there is a GoFundMe for him. So if you do have some spare change, please do think about sending it his way, but even if you don't, everybody can understand that. So even if it's just for 1 minute today, just send him good thoughts. I know that sounds a bit heebie-jeebie and a bit wibbly-wobbly, but whatever we can do, we should do. I've met Chris Bay on a few occasions, and he is a wonderful guy. I send him all the best. Mercedes Moné and Kamille then walking backstage. Renee Paquette walked up to him and said, oh, hi, what's going on? She also wanted to know how Camille's match was going to go later. Mercedes was like, oh, man, you're so annoying. Look at her, she's the brick house. She's going to go out there and smash someone. And also, don't wish her good luck. We find that offensive. When we really did get to a very surreal fight, given the last 18 months, it was Buddy Matthews taking on Adam Cole. Now here is the deal. Adam Cole, of course, was out for almost 2 years. So if you cannot watch this and go, well, we have to give him some time to get back up to speed, you are a totally crazy person to think about the human being sometimes, but also, he is so damn talented, and Buddy Matthews is so underrated. I thought this was bloody terrific. We also made sure we tied all that in, though, because the story here was all about Adam Cole's foot. Although to start, these two shook hands. What are you doing, Adam? Don't shake his hand. I can't even talk, but don't do it. Last week he called you fragile. That's a mean thing to say. Matthews did use his power here, though, and Adam didn't know what to do, so he tried to put Buddy in a headlock. That wasn't working. Matthews wanted nothing to do with it. Don't know what this is. It's like I think a mole is going to jump through it. He was also able to dodge a kick that was super, and Cole sold that too, because of course, he's now scared about using his foot. Now, on the one hand, this does make sense, On the other, nobody has ever said that sentence before. We also saw Kyle O'Reilly watching on from backstage, and he looked very concerned, so that's going to tie in when Buddy just booted this guy right in the face. I suppose if you did want to win a match, that's what you do. He also got a superplex, and then Adam came back with a net breaker and made sure to DDT Matthews onto the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. Oh, that's when I breathed a sigh of relief. That's like, it's okay. Adam Cole remembers. He also got a heat seeker, which must have been a shot at MGF. When Buddy decided, I am going to hit you with every single dragon screw I do have, and we know why he did this, because what does that focus on? The foot, leg, knee area. Adam Cole, that's the last thing he needs. He also basically stomped on this damn injury and murdered Adam, to the point the doctors came out and said, this is done, it's over. Kind of got a little bit off course here, because the fans started counting to 10 like he was down and out, and they were chanting for Buddy Matthews. Now, I do get this, because he's such a good talent, we should do something for him. But at the same time, it was very surreal, because Adam was being led out of the arena. Matthews didn't give a fluff about any of this stuff when he grabbed the mic. He was like, oh man, I told you, new Adam Cole is super fragile, and he's also a bitch. Bring down the bitch counter. That goes up by 1. And as we did learn, if you are a friend or you want to know more about Mr. Cole, do not call him a bitch. He was so damn mad. It's like when you call Marty McFly a coward, he stormed back to the ring. Now, look, I'm just going to say, yes, of course I meant chicken. I was just trying to get a point across. I know what the comments will do. And even though Adam Cole was finally able to get some super kicks, Buddy then stomped on him again. I was like, man, this is not going well at all. The doctor was let out again, and Matthews even kind of threw in a visual towel to say you should give up. But that's a classic Austin Powers mistake, because Adam then threw that towel back in Buddy Murphy's face, and eventually he not only hit one Panama Sunrise, but he did it again on the outside, so Buddy was now reeling. It also meant he threw him back in the ring when he lowered the boom and he got the 1, 2, 3. My big takeaway is, first of all, this made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum because I'm so pleased for Adam Cole, but also, we need to push Buddy to the moon. I mean, that guy at the very least should be in the TNT title picture. Cole also cut a promo afterwards thanking Buddy because he'd reminded him who Adam Cole was. And I was like, man, I didn't know he had amnesia too. It's a terrible joke. It also made me laugh out loud because they then did another handshake when the lights went out. And when they came back on, Adam Cole was magically shaking Malachi Black's hand instead. And I was like, that's what you chose to do with your voodoo powers? I mean, how did that happen? I am the genie of the lamp and I grant you one wish. So basically, mate, I really like to interrupt other people's handshakes. What the fuck? Still, this was a great match and a great storyline. And now what? Next week, I'm getting Adam Cole versus Malachi Black. This bald a-hole ain't gonna get mad at that. Renee was then in the back with Private Party and Christopher Daniels, which was a nice touch, because of course, Private Party are putting it all on the line this evening. And Chris was like, listen, a few years ago, this happened with me in SCU, and I didn't do right by Frankie Kazarian, and he's not here anymore. I was like, that's a poor choice of words. He sounded dead. Private Party told him not to worry, though, because they are going to go out there and do it. This was basically just one massive tease to make you think the Private Party were about to break up. We also saw Adam Cole in the medical room, the trainer's room, and he was all like, oh man, I'm going to be okay. Malachi Black, I'll take you on. As he also told MJF, you're a piece of trash and nobody likes you, and I'm doing this for All Elite Wrestling. I don't think he needs to say that. It's like, Adam, you hate this guy, even though the story has been a bit weird, that has come across. Not everything has to be about the company. The Undisputed Kingdom are in the background too. They are so going to screw over this guy. I'm not sure I'm ready for it. And Roderick Strong was even nodding throughout all of this, even though he is going to go through his own gauntlet too. So yeah, I'd keep an eye on this if I were you. It is most definitely going to go bad. It was right into more story after this though, because out came Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher. And good grief, everybody really hates them. I've seen some people too being critical about Kyle Fletcher's new hairstyle, going, oh man, he looks so generic now. But that's forgetting about the context that it was presented to us in. This Mother Hubbard went to the ring and shaved his skull. So I'd also like to be the first guy to welcome him into the Bald Brotherhood. Though at the same time, we know you're not actually bald, Kyle. So you can only be like a B member, that's how it works. He called out Will Ospreay too, knowing that he wasn't going to be here because Will Ospreay's in the hospital. So do you know who we got instead? His Aussie Open brother Mark Davis. And that was a huge deal. I haven't seen him in about a year. Kyle went for the hug as well, but Mark didn't want anything to do with this because he was like, what have you become, dude? Ever since I have been away, you are now a terrible person. And you took our friend William. Once again, you put him in a local medical facility. Fletcher swiped back saying, man, you do not understand. Ospreay never cared about us. And listen, I knew that you would return to the fold eventually, so there's always a spot for you in the family. Dun, dun, dun. Davis just feels like he's ruined all of this though, so he started to walk away. And Kyle's like, listen, bro, you can do whatever you want, but eventually you're going to have to make a choice. Something very, very happy is going to happen here. Or somebody's going to have their head carved. Mark Davis even made reference to the Empire here, so he was talking about their old group. Though actually what I would do is I would put Davis back with Kyle Fletcher, because then they can do single stuff and they can do tag team stuff too. I actually think that would be quite unique and fun. So I really like this too, and there were so many narratives of this Dynamite when I kind of searched my feelings and thought, oh, but you know, I'm quite invested, so let's keep on the long-term angles. Wendy Paquette was then back here. She was talking to Hangman Adam Page. This guy really hates Jay White. He also wanted to make it clear that back during the Owen Hart Cup tournament, it was nothing to do with Christian Cage. And the reason White was on the shelf for all that time was because of the Cowboy. And maybe he'd do it again, yeehaw. Their overall record at the moment is 4-1 as well. So let's remember that wins and losses do have consequences. And also, let's talk about Full Gear. We are going to do this match. And Mr. J, we all know what your plan is going to be. You're going to go after my bad leg. But let's ask anybody what Page's strategy is, and nobody knows. Hangman then ran down all the awful things he has done this year, and he even said, Jay, maybe I'll burn down your house. And how good is that in relation to a wrestling match? And in terms of wrestling characters, Hangman Adam Page is right up there. It also means that after Full Gear, he shall go on to other things, because Jay White will be dead. And so we have to bring down the crime counter, mostly because he did say he's going to commit arson once more. But I tell you, whatever the plan is in 2025, I think Page probably needs to be the champion again. That's how good he is right now. He is spitting bullets. And in fact, this was so good, give it a head up. We then saw the BCC very mechanically walking around a corner one by one, because it was time to go to the ring. They are still keeping the AEW World Championship in a briefcase too, so maybe it's not actually in there anymore, and it's that stupid crown jewel belt instead. I mean, it happens on Raw and SmackDown all the time. We also got told that Chuck Taylor is still in the hospital, which does make sense, as John got the microphone and went, Orange Cassidy, you absolute goober. You think you challenged me? No, you didn't. I'd already put the hit out on the entire locker room. The reason he murdered Chuck as well is because he didn't want any distractions, and lo and behold, what is happening? Cassidy is more focused than ever right now, which was his whole point to begin with. Everybody needs to step up. He also told Orange that he better be ready to die, because Moxley certainly is. And if he has to meet his maker, that's what's gonna go on. So as always, you just watch Jon Moxley and go, you're insane. He also thought it was hilarious that Cassidy thinks he is in charge when he whispered something to his cronies, and they grabbed Wheeler Yuta and they were gonna kill him with a chair. So listen, Wheels, if you do watch Ups and Downs, which of course you don't, you need to get out of here, bro. They're gonna end you. Now, Orange must have been watching this from behind the curtain, because he made a beeline right to the ring. I was like, dude, this is a terrible plan. It's like 42-on-1. Now, the Dark Order also ran out, so somebody needs to send them a memo. If the BCC are in the ring, don't go out one by one like your James Bond villains. It's got to be one big attack. They sucked too, and all of a sudden Wheeler was firing chairs at them, so he is totally gaslit. Well, we just had the best moment, because Batman decided he needed to get involved in this, and who came down from the rafters? It was Darby Allin. And obviously he's been inspired by Daddy Sting. Now, it wasn't the best sneak attack. Darby was kind of hanging for a little bit until Alex Reynolds helped him out when Darby and Claudio Castagnoli got into it. Once again, I got to admit it, this was a really good brawl. Private Party were in there too, because they want to be super duper heroes, which is when the Young Bucks are like, we're going to be dicks. Because as soon as everything had calmed down, they walked out and thought, you know what, let's do our tag team title match right now. So I really do think this AEW Civil War angle is working. And once again, I want Orange Cassidy to win the championship, although he's not going to, but he probably is going to lay the seeds to have Darby Allin win it, probably in 2025, and then we will be on a brand new path to greatness. Or something like that. Either way though, this working for me, I am intrigued. When we just had the best time, because it was the tag team title match, the Bucks versus the Pie. that's private. Now, last week I did talk about the fact that I thought we could have taken way longer over this when it came to Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. Just teased and teased and teased for weeks that, oh my gosh, they're going to break up. Then they didn't. Then they eventually won back their title match. Somebody actually pulled me aside this week though and said, well, actually, don't you think that AEW kind of just does need to get stuff done at the moment so the fans can tell that we are changing things? No, I was like, that's a really good point. I do agree. Both these things can be true. So let's not stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne. And again, go back to Wrestle Dream or go to this crowd in Dynamite. They were desperate for Private Party to get the win. Sometimes you just gotta make people happy. Nicholas and Isaiah went bonkers to begin this as well when they looked at each other to let you know they were serious. When Matthew Jackson tagged it, they just murked this guy. But Mark Quinn was then watching and he was like, well, that's not right. And Private Party hit double Hurricane Ranas. Because you know, one Hurricane Rana is never enough. Cassidy then jumped off Mark's back to do a dive, which was totally redonkulous, when Matt decided, you know what, I'm going to hit some people with the ring bell. Now, Mark Quinn was able to steal that off him, but when he hit to hit Jackson with it, Matthew ducked, and he smashed Isaiah Cassidy instead. Now, Cassidy was not only busted open, but this was yet another tease. Oh no, they're gonna fall out. Private Party then got killed because they got thrown onto the steel steps and superplexed. And I was like, well, there's no point me watching anymore. I'm going home, they're done. The thing is, it actually led to this Isaiah Cassidy hot tag, and he went completely crazy. When Mark Quinn also tagged in, we had 450s and people just falling from the sky. And by this point, you started to feel it in your extremities. Was heading in a very interesting direction. We then got reverse destroyers, sliced breads, and crazy power bombs as the Bucks were able to hit risky business for our first 1-2-ooh. Let me just compress this here. For the next 5 minutes, it basically went to ooh, 1-2-ooh, 1-2-ooh, and I was popping on every single one. Especially because eventually the Bucks got Mark Quinn. They dragged him up the entranceway. So the ref was like a dad, like, what are you doing? And he made them go back to the ring when a card had teleported in. And he tombstoned this guy on the entranceway. Private Party really did get whooped. Matt and Nick were then able to hit the milk and cookies, which is their version of the gin and juice. But once again, that was a near fall. So what do? They hit the super kick party on Isaiah. That guy kicked out again. He became Superman. He also got caught with the EVP trigger, but that was another 1-2-ooh when, man, the Young Bucks hit a one-wing angel, which has to be a wink-wink nudge-nudge to the future. And Mark Quinn broke this up at 2.999 by basically throwing himself through the ropes and creating chaos. You have to give that a round of applause. In terms of modern day breakups, that has to be in the top 5 ever. It was damn near perfect. Nicholas's penis then went into the top rope because Private Party did have a plan. After they got rid of Matthew, they hit the gin and juice and they got the 1, 2, 3. And honestly, this place went totally nuts, as did I. So screw, we could use more build here. This was one of those warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum moments. Very interestingly too, the Young Bucks actually passed the belts over to Private Party before they did leave. So maybe they are going to go good guy, but either way, let's use all of this to light a fire under that tag team division and get it back to where it was a couple of years ago. But this was a fantastic match with a lovely wobbly ending. I'm very excited for Private Party. Let's get it done. Renee Paquette was then backstage with Jamie Hayter and Penelope Ford, and Penelope was all like, man, Jamie, I put myself through hell and you never remembered who I was. When Jamie was all like, well, I didn't really like you that much, so let's have a fight. I also think she wants to be hygienic because Hayter said, I need a mop so I can clean the floor, which would be a very interesting stipulation. But I tell you, 1, these 2 guys have been so good on promos, I am very interested. And 2, everyone needs to take inspiration from Jamie Hayter when it comes to your wrestling look. She looks absolutely fantastic, and it's because she stands out a mile. When the learning tree was here, last week Chris Jericho did become the Ring of Honor World Champion. Big Bill said this was all down to teamwork when Jericho actually talked about the Wrestling Observer newsletter and the fact his fight with Mark Briscoe got 4 stars. Now listen, I don't think that AEW needs to be going this nerdy right now. I think you need to be a little bit more encompassing, but at the same time, I enjoyed it because I am a geek. So I don't know, maybe you have to go full nerd or not nerd at all. That's one for you, drop me a comment. Chris also mentioned he was now going to make Ring of Honor like he made AEW back in the day. So sorry, Jon Moxley, you may have been saying that, but it was actually I that did the goods. That was a very interesting line, because you have to imagine eventually the Blackpool Combat Club gonna come after him too. Brian Keith then told us we were all dumbasses, which made me chuckle, and he's also correct, as the learning tree told us we now run Ring of Honor. Maybe they do. As we talked about last week too, if it turns out the Ring of Honor does have a TV deal, this does make all the sense in the world. But in terms of a segment, it was over so fast, and it didn't really tell you anything new. I didn't really know what to make of it. Like, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was kind of just there. So we shall bring back the very, very rarely used middle thumb. What does it even mean? It's like a crappy version of Lord of the Rings. I don't want to go to middle thumb. But that's how I felt about it. Once again, I'll just repeat myself. I wouldn't give it an up, and I wouldn't give it a down, because I'm slap bang in the middle with you. We then got a video from Mariah May versus Anna Jay, as they are going to be having a women's world title match. And again, they've done such good work. I think they made the most of this when we were backstage with Jack Perry. Alex Marvez was trying to talk to him, so he went, man, you need to flub off. When Daniel Garcia zoomed in, basically pinned him up against the wall and said, you absolute long-haired idiot, I'm gonna take that TNT title. This is where Garcia's past caught up to him, because Perry was like, why don't you go dance in front of the fans again, which was a thing. When he went into Elite's dressing room, and everybody, including Brandon Cutler, was shredding papers. What a flub does that mean? Matthew was also yelling, we have to go, so they did run away. But once again, if you want me to tune into your TV show next week, this is the way to do it. Like, obviously you have to have a good payoff, but now I'm gonna be sat there with my bald head going, what the hell is going on? We will get into more of that later too, but now we do have to have a chat, because damn it, I don't think this Kamille thing is working. Now, I don't think her match with Queen Aminata from last week was as bad as some people made it out. I thought it was totally fine. But when you jump forward to here, where she was taking on Kris Statlander, and she lost, and afterwards Mercedes Moné basically went, you absolutely suck. We have taken the idea of a powerhouse persona. Well, we didn't really go all the way to the bank with this. If Kamille all of a sudden does go back with Mercedes after this, she will look like a silly Billy, but let's focus on the good stuff first. In terms of a match between her and Kris, we allowed it to be short, and they just smashed into each other. I thought it was very entertaining. They had a power off to begin with, which Kamille did win when we were getting F5s and 450s. But maybe Kris shouldn't have done that because she totally missed. Kamille then hit the Rough Rider and the Torture Rack spinning bomb for a 1-2. But again, Aminata had kicked out of that 7 days ago, so this time it didn't mean as much. Eventually she decided, well, I'll just tombstone you instead, but Statlander reversed that into the Wednesday Night Fever for the 1-2-3. I kind of have zoomed through that too quickly, but again, it was just two giants kicking the crap out of each other, and I would watch that every single day of the week. Afterwards, Mercedes Moné did twonk Kris with the belt, and that's when she was like, Kamille, you absolutely suck, I'll do it by myself. Why don't you go to the back? As she stood there with all her championships. Now, once again, Mercedes Moné versus Kris Statlander is a match that has been on my list ever since Mercedes did arrive in AEW. So you take that and you take this match, I am going to give it an up. But yeah, with everything else, don't really get what we do with Kamille here. She should have been smashing through falls for like the last 6 months. That's not what we did, and I really felt it this time, so it has to get it down. She'll be totally fine. We may just have to pivot. I do want to point out as a small aside, you can be nicer about this. I have seen some horrible posts on the internet. A reminder once again, they are still human beings. The patriarchy were here next, then Christian Cage looked right into the camera and he said, Hook, there's been a misunderstanding. So why don't you meet me in the ring next week and I'll explain. So what I really hope he says is, listen, I just wanted to use the color orange, but your dad Taz gets so mad about that, so I did what I had to do. Cat was then here with the conglomeration too. Mark Briscoe was so sad. He was like, man, I really do miss that Ring of Honor World Championship. Chris Jericho, you shouldn't have mentioned my brother's name. And also the word of the day is instability, because there is something unstable in Chris's head. He also made sure to point out that he knows the only reason he does lose is because Chris Jericho's boys keep getting involved. Therefore, next week we shall do a 6-man tag, and it will be a fight without honor. That makes sense too, because who needs honor? Which is when we went back to the Young Bucks, and honestly, they were jumping into a car and basically screaming at Christopher Daniels, we are done, we are going home, we don't want anything to do with this. Matthew even said nobody listens to them anyway, as Brandon Cutler rang out with a box of shoes. The Young Bucks are so mean to him, they zoomed off. It then turned into a horror film because the BCC appeared behind Brandon Cutler. And not only did that guy get murdered, but Daniels got it too, when Claudio Castagnoli got that hammer and he broke Brandon's hand. So bring it down. There's the crime counter. You can't do that. Moxie then blamed all this on Daniels and yelled at the doctors too, and what the hell did they do? And this does kind of feel like eventually Matthew and Nicholas Jackson will return, and maybe then they will help AEW in their fight against the BCC. And I actually think this makes all the sense in the world. People keep comparing it to the NWO, and the only way it works if it is them versus us. And the us has to be everybody, including the Young Bucks. I mean, go back in time. Without them, we don't have AEW to begin with. When we just had the best main event, and honestly, talk to my heart, I loved it. Because it was Swerve Strickland versus Shelton Benjamin. Turns out, I thought this was a dream match. That's how I felt about it. It was not 2 + 2 = potato. Cheap plug. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller, we've got new designs. Benjamin took Swerve down to begin with too, when MVP started whispering something to Prince Nana, and I figured it out. He said it's dangerous to go alone, take this, and he gave him a sword. What? Shelton then hurled Swerve to the floor, which was a terrible idea, because Strickland was using Rita the ring post, so Shelton was like, well, I'm going to use Barry Barricade, so everybody was abusing our ringside wrestling friends. Swerve still went for it for a springboard, but Benjamin just kneed him right in the face, and that's when this became the best game of tennis ever, because it was a proper back and forth. Because Strickland then pump kicked this guy and he went for the flat liner, but Shelton turned that into the DDT instead. I was like, I could watch them fight forever, or the time they'd been allocated on this episode of Dynamite. At this point, they were both wibbly wobbly, but somehow Strickland did get the house call and a 450. We saw a lot of 450s on this show, but it only got a 1-2 when Benjamin got up and just killed him with a German suplex. Seriously, you need to go and watch this again. Swerve was then able to hit that flatliner they kept going for when he decided to go up to the top of Tina the Turnbuckle, but Shelton then leaped up there too, and I started to get worried like I was their dad. Strickland had the higher ground though, so he hit a flipping Liger bomb from up there, which essentially knocked Benjamin out, and when he tried to get to his feet, Strickland hit the Swerve stomp, and he got the 1-2-3. But honestly, this was of such high quality, it was so good, nobody really lost here. I just had a phenomenal time. It is absolutely getting it up. We're also going to get a proper big ending too, because MVP got right on his phone after this, like, dude, you need to get here now. Once again, I was laughing. Because what if Shelton Benjamin had lost? We would have cut to Umvup, who would have been on the phone and gone, yeah, sorry I flew you out, bro. Don't actually need you. It is just the best wrestling though, because the lights went out when they came back on. Who debuted in AEW? It was Doink the Clown. It wasn't Doink the Clown, it should have been Doink the Clown, but it was Bobby Lashley. And honestly, I popped my socks off. I mean, he just feels like a big deal, and he looks like a big deal too, as did the face-off between Swerve Strickland and Bobby Lashley. Because once again, I searched my feelings, and you damn right I want to see that match. Benjamin didn't care about any of this, so he cast Distraction, which allowed Bob to hit this huge spine buster when a bunch of security guards ran out, and honestly, Shelton Benjamin super kicked one of them into the Phantom Zone. They beat up Nana too as Lashley applied the Hurt Lock, so MVP got on the microphone and went, guess who's back in business? And I went, is it Blockbuster? Then I realized what he was talking about. It does mean the Hurt Syndicate was the last thing we saw on Dynamite, and listen, sometimes you don't have to overthink what your eyes are seeing. They just work as a group. They would have worked in WWE, and they absolutely work in AEW, and I cannot wait to see what we do with this. I mean, they very well may be my favorite group in wrestling. I just love them. It also meant we had a fantastic ending to a pretty damn good episode of Dynamite. If we keep doing more like this, I think everything is going to be okay. It's getting it up. Now, of course, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe, and click the video on the screen for yet more of my ups and downs when it comes to pro wrestling. And leave me a comment letting me know what you think about the show and this. Some people have still messaged me going, Simon, it's so annoying. Listen, dude, I worked my ass off for this, and I'm damn proud of it. And too many people forget about the magic of pro wrestling. Not this bald guy. It's essentially my child. Shouldn't have said that. Goodbye.